On the evening of, during the day of November 29th, 1981, authorities fished out the body off the coast of Catalina of one Natalia Wood, or as people or friends knew her as Natasha Wood, or as all of us knew her as Natalie Wood.
Natalie Wood.
And her last known whereabouts prior to being fished out of the shores of Catalina were on the boat, the yacht known as the Splendor, which had been docked off the shore the night before. And the only other known people on board that boat at the time were her husband, Robert J. Wagner, also known as RJ, the captain, skipper Dennis Davern, and the young, recently very successful actor, rumored to be her new beau, Mr. Christopher Walken. Brainstorm. They met on the Brainstorm shoot, actually, yes. Chris and Natalie met on the Brainstorm shoot in North Carolina, had been shooting it for several months. And they were celebrating Thanksgiving together on Catalina Island, and had several nights together, which nobody knows exactly what happened. But everybody seems to know, or have an idea, or a notion, or a conspiracy about what happened after. So, direct from a time machine, I present to you this evening the deathbed confession of Christopher Walken. Lenny, lean over close so you can hear everything I need to tell you right now. It's imperative you get every word clear. I'm not saying I was always a good man, Lenny. Not always. But I was not of the character. What I mean is, there were limits in my life that I observed. These limits are in all of our lives. It's where those limits are drawn that determines what kind of people we are. Even now. God damn it, Len. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. The truth is not as sordid as you might think it is, but perhaps more sordid than it should be. The first thing you need to understand is that cunt of a skipper was a fiend whose mother assuredly conceived and birthed this squalid ass on the banks of the river Styx, alright? He was one of these fucking guys who would break out a Himalayan's mountains bundle of snow on a Thursday night and manage to make his way through your stash like a Hoover vacuum before Sunday. I'm saying this all wrong. The look on your face is, Chris, you poor, sad prick, just get it off your chest, brother. Forgive me, this is difficult. You want to know if she and I, if we... No. It never happened. So, Christ knows I wanted it to. Those first few times it almost went down on the set of the Brainstorm shoot. Hot kissing, heavy petting, clothes starting to peel away. And then she pulls up, saying she wants to wait for a special night. Because you know I'm a special guy. You know the drill. What guy doesn't know that drill? Except it hadn't happened like that for me down there 20 years ago. You'd really think a man my age would know better. Yet still, I was transformed into this drooling puppy, this completely, hopelessly starstruck kid, even though I was pushing 40. She was a living legend where I just got my break. Sheer mana for the thirsty ego of mine simply run my hands all over the body of a woman all my friends and I had ached for in school. The way you ache for things you're sure you're never going to have. And that's as far as I ever went, man. And let me tell you, there was not one other set of gowns in all Hollywood, not one, that I or any other straight, red-blooded actor just starting out would want to have been with. She was in her prime then, I tell you. I wasn't going to demand it, man. No. Not when it was being put on layaway. And a young man in the prime of his life, and I don't refer to the prime of sexual longevity, Lenny, but the prime of confidence and success, of knowing who one is, finally, and just how to be with an older woman. When you're a man like that, and a woman like Natalia puts it on layaway, I don't care who you are. You book the date. We were supposed to hook up that weekend. She kept saying RJ wouldn't mind if we got together, that he was going to another party scene on another yacht or some such. She told me he was a swinger, and that was his thing. He was a good man who respected marriage, but that they were very hip, you know. She liked to use that word hip, like they were these high-class beatniks. She said he was into pretty men, and that's why he liked being with her, because she reminded him of a pretty man. But I couldn't see something like that at the time, Landon. truly wonder if I could now. Thanksgiving night, though, I tried to resolve in my own heart that there would be no intimate encounter between us at all that weekend. We could have been together that night, with her old man out on the boat, just him being out there. Maybe I'm less of a man for admitting this to you, Len, but whenever I was alone with her that weekend, it wasn't there, you know? The chemistry. Not like other times we'd been alone. As if we were back to just being friends again. Like when we first met in North Carolina. But then we'd go out in public. And, oh well, then it was all back on again with her. And I'd start to think, oh yeah, we're back on again. And then she'd turn around and start shit-talking RJ about what a ninny he was. And how frustrating he was. And because that's the part of her that was getting off on all of that. For the first time in my life, I was experiencing sexual schizophrenia. I changed my mind and say to myself, no, Chris, you're going to jump over this cliff, just a little bit more champagne, and we'll be there any minute. The next minute, I'm back trying to swear off, because so what if her old man is a little fruity, and she's a little saucy? You just don't make a guy's wife in front of him. I know he was square with the younger crowd, old-fashioned, nice guy, you know, man, but this was still Bobby fucking Wagner. The man was a long-term survivor, and wasn't he worthy of respect? Wasn't he worthy of dignity? That's the question I wanted to ask her the next night at the Harbor Beef restaurant, but I couldn't. I was just this horny lottery winner. And the more she smack-talked RJ, the hornier she got. The longer dinner went on, the more forward she got. And then RJ shows up with Dave and all bets are off. I tell you now, he did not appear to me as a man who didn't care about who his wife was humping on the side. Oh no, he was making jokes about the rumors, and underneath that easy, charming laughter, I could see him seething. For the first time in my life, I saw Ethel's spirit. So what does she do? Takes her right hand down on my inner thigh, and begins this build-up, slow, stroking motion. I mean, you know as well as anyone that men, simple men like us, can't hide anything in that position. Not with a woman like that. No, I mean, the goddamn Daver running his mouth about all the booze and drugs we had available. He was the reason we were asked to leave the place. So we leave, we go back to the splendor out on the water. The blow was stupid. It was just stupid of us to be doing so much. But I got into this, match you line for line contest with Daver, who, quite honestly, he was out of control then. I mean, he even had straight-laced Bobby hooking down lines just to give the whole sordid situation a spin of its own, like some high noon bacchanal. You heard the phrase, Lenny? Going to 11? You know that phrase? All of us on the yacht that night. All of us. What I'm saying is that people like Natalie and RJ should not be allowed to go to 11. Not after what they go through to get where they are. Not after what they become. So she keeps goading him to go to this other party. And he says, oh sure, Natasha, so you can take your latest thoroughbred for a test ride. And then she says she's going to take the lifeboat to the party. And right there, in front of her husband, puts her hand on my package, asks me if I would like to go to the party with her, and then licks my ear, that exact order. I can still feel how warm her saliva made my ear out in the ocean air, and the utterly, absolutely homicidal look on Bobby's face. The feeling I had, looking at this beautiful woman's husband, while my ear felt so wet, cool, and comfortable, that's the memory that never leaves me, Lenny. Never leaves me.
Shut up.
RJ might very well be into making the hairy man back all night long, but he did not come from a generation that tolerated being made to look foolish. I couldn't take it anymore. I was beaten down from the whole weekend of partying and psychic head games. I'd had enough of all the bad karma. They obviously had not. So I went out to my bedroom. David, at that moment, at least shows me a little bit of mercy. He's smoking a joint with me the whole time we're down there, and I can hear them fighting. He tells me this is all perfectly normal. They act like this all the time. And then we hear, that sound. The hitting, the punching. Davern casually announces it's time to go shut the boat down. Like maybe he's used to this cue. I knew that my dream My dream of hearing the serenade of our lovemaking, the sound of Natalie being made love to by me, that was something I was never going to hear again. Not while RJ had to be part of the equation. It was never going to be the way I pictured, just the two of us, but always the three of us. Every night with her was going to be a night in the yacht. So I stayed in my room, heard a little more yelling, but for the most part, things seemed to level out. I didn't want to know. More than anything, I wanted to get off the boat, get out of the ocean as soon as I could the next day. The drugs had worn off, and like any other night of partying, winding down, I just drifted off. But you know, I've heard the stories of that. I know they say 2 of the lifeboats left the yacht that night, and only 1 came back. But what happened? Brother, that's between RJ and God. He and I spoke later after the funeral, and it was very strange because I apologized to him for my behavior, and he accepted. Then he apologized to me, but he wouldn't say for what. I won't lie, my friend, I was afraid. I felt myself in danger that evening. I felt that RJ intended me harm. Even now, when I see these reruns of celebrity poker matches on the Game Show Network, and there he is, old man Wagner in his 70s, looking like he can't be fucked with by anyone. And everyone at the table knows it. He still gets the girls. Nothing ever happens to guys like RJ, not in this world. They get away with everything because nobody still alive wants to go down that road with them. On the television, the look in his eyes still makes me want to crap my pants. Like he's going to rise up from the grave and come find me. Just because I'm telling you all of this right now. But then I do know that I woke up at one point abruptly, just as I was starting to doze. You know how you get pulled back awake with a start, because you think you feel like you're falling, or you heard something. Well, I thought I heard a splash in the water, somewhere not so far away. It was the damnedest thing then. Drifting back to sleep, I heard singing. I heard her, drunk and singing away. There was no doubt in my mind that it was her, because I've never forgotten that face and the things that voice said to me. There were times I'd heard her sing but never really appreciated it until just that moment. There's a place for us, a time, a place for us. Hold my hand and we're halfway there. Hold my hand and I'll take you there. Somehow, someday, somewhere. She could have been half a mile out in the water, her voice coming back to me from that abyss like the radio signal of a single sleek spaceship on the verge of plunging into a black hole. But at the time, it was the sound of her voice crossing the distance between us that was the sweetest lullaby I could ever have to lull me to sleep. At that moment, it didn't seem as if things could become as terrible as they did, as if she were just fine singing her heart out to me on the water forever. That moment was all good. And the fuck of it is that it still is ringing, because I got my serenade after all, didn't I? Take a walk now, friend. I need to get some rest. And please, lock the door behind you when you leave.